By video request, today's topic is debunking the cult of positive thinking, and they have some specifics listed here which I will read off. And this is ideas like you create your own reality, thoughts create reality, no one is a victim, everything bad that happens to you happened because you created or chose it. Everything is a choice. You are at fault for everything you complain about. You are the problem. Attitude is everything. If anything goes wrong in your life, it must be because your attitude made it go wrong. I don't even know if I would so much as classify this as positive thinking. I think to a large extent this is just retarded capitalist thinking. But yeah, positive thinkers will generally tend to agree with statements like that. Now the first thing I would say is it's pretty obvious that the person who sent this video request is a negative thinker and just trying to look for excuses to compensate for their own shortcomings in life. I would say my best advice is to stop looking for excuses and to be grateful. You should be grateful that you were born into a capitalist democracy. In a capitalist democracy, you have the freedom to make as much money as you want. Billionaire Warren Buffett once said, "The more you learn, the more you earn." Now I want you to think about that. I suggest going back to university another 8 years and get your PhD. Soldiers died for your fucking freedom, and this is the gratitude you have to show? Unlike other government systems in a capitalist democracy, if you're unhappy with anything about the political system, then you can express this discontent through voting. If politicians proceed to be immature, corrupt scumbags, well then it's actually your fault, because you're the one who voted for them. What's that? You didn't vote? Well then it's still your fault. You should have voted. If you don't vote, you can't complain. The more you contribute to society, the more society will contribute to you. I suggest you start becoming a more informed citizen. Reading the newspaper daily is a good start. Let's see what we can find right here. Trudeau keeps getting caught shirtless. Oh my God. Wow, can you believe that? This man is the Prime Minister of Canada and he's getting caught going around shirtless. Listen to this guy, debunking the cult of positive thinking. Instead of trying to think about debunking positive thinking, why don't you think about your career? Why don't you think about contributing to society economically? Why don't you think about elections? These are constructive things to do. I would also highly advise practicing mainstream meditation to help clear your head of any potential thoughts you might have. This guy's negative attitude really pisses me off. Every bad thing that happens to you is your fault. If you get cancer, that's your fault. If you were born mentally retarded, that's your fault. Okay, seriously, let's start this video rolling. Negative thinking can be completely useless and stupid, as well as completely useful. And positive thinking can be completely stupid and useless, as well as useful. So for example, if you're positive and super excited and motivated to overthrow corrupt politicians, well then, positive thinking is great. I'm glad. Seriously though, I wouldn't actually kill your politicians quite yet. History has shown us time and time again that revolutions are successful at removing one immature person to put in another immature person. So I would argue that positive or negative thinking isn't necessarily a problem, but rather a lack of rational and intelligent thinking is the issue. However, there is one fundamental difference between positive and negative thinking, and this is that positive thinking is good for your health and mental stability. So if it's possible to find a positive motivation to doing something constructive, then that is superior than a negative motivation. So let's start investigating these specific claims. You create your own reality, thoughts create reality. Okay. Now to be fair, there is some philosophical validity to the concept that your mind controls reality rather than reality controls your mind and your mind is an effect of reality. So for example, take a look at dreams. Within a dream, in specific a lucid dream, your mind really does control everything about reality. While you're awake and conscious, to a very limited extent, you can control reality through your mind. So for example, your emotional state filters the information you take in. So if you're in a positively delusional mental state, you're going to be able to ignore certain features of reality, and your experience of reality has effectively been altered by your mind. But that's not to say that reality itself has been altered. This is just your perception of reality. If there were some simple way to manipulate reality using your mind, then everybody would just do it. People have been trying this for 10 million years or something, right? Anybody who tells you this, give them a problem. Take a coin, put the coin inside the jar, and put the jar on a table or something where they can't touch it. Now say, using your thoughts, I want you to flip that coin over. Think about anything you want. Spend all day, spend all year, spend your whole life thinking about that coin and see if you can flip it over. Next, I would like to address this concept of victim blaming. And I think victim blaming is one of the most harmful and offensive things you can do to a person psychologically. First, the entire concept of free will is questionable. There are scientists who believe that consciousness is just a projection of what your brain has already decided, and you're not really deciding anything. I would argue there's an even simpler way to prove this, and this is to simply calculate that which is the least in your emotional interest and to try to do it. So for example, find the person you love the most and brutally torture them to death in the worst way possible. I don't think anybody could do that unless they have a stronger motivation of pride and some kind of desire to transcend emotions. To a very large or even complete extent, we're slaves to our emotional desires and feelings. And the concept of choice and decision making is very often a calculation process to help us organize conflicting emotions and feelings and to determine which is ultimately our true motivations. Every single thought you have inside your head is related to a brain function, and how effectively these brain functions work is determined entirely by a biological process we have little to no control over. For example, if you were born mentally retarded, then obviously a high IQ function is not possible with your brain. If you were born without the brain facilities necessary in order to control emotional impulse, then ultimately you will have to give in to every emotional impulse you have, like an animal. The same is true about our physical health and our bodies. Now, while we can make a difference by making an effort to take care of our physical health, to a very large extent our physical health is determined by a card deal which we were given at birth. What diseases you were born with, what viruses and infections you encounter in life, these are all things that are determined almost entirely by luck. Now let's look at our social environment. Whether you're born around a bunch of smart people or retarded people, whether you're born around impulsive or rational people, whether you're born around rich or poor people, whether you're connected to these people, these are all massive factors in determining your success in life. The same is true about your economic environment, of course. What country you were born in is probably one of the largest factors, and while you can become rich technically in any country, you have to consider the probability. In a country that has a very strong economy, the probability of being rich is reasonable and something that you could realistically expect, whereas in other countries, the probability of becoming rich is nearly impossible. For example, in the USA, there's about 536 billionaires, I forget the exact number, and around, I think 300 million people. And if you do the calculations, which I did, the probability of you becoming a billionaire is almost 1/10,000%. You're approximately 2.2 times more likely to become a billionaire than you are to win the 649 lottery jackpot. And this is, of course, in the USA, which is a stronger economy. Consider the probability of a job, a raise, or a promotion. Many, if not most people, are very immature, and tiny little things like the way you speak, your race, even the arrangement of your face, if you have one eye too low or something like this, these are large factors in determining whether you get a job, a raise, or a promotion. When you say a comment, whether a boss accurately or inaccurately determines that you're being sarcastic, this can completely determine whether your boss holds a massive grudge against you or whether they like you. Even if you have your own business, something as simple as the way you look someone in the eye can determine whether you sell something or not. The financial structures, policy, and economies of a society are largely determined by bureaucracies that you have little to absolutely no say in whatsoever. Did you choose the laws of the society that you live in? When did the government ask for your permission before passing a law that affects you? And finally, when we look at nature, we have little to no control over how our natural environment works as well. Our mind, our body, our society, our social environment, and our natural environment are all things that were largely dictated to us. The type of delusional positive thinking where we blame individuals instead of institutions is one of the most regressive attitudes. Don't be a positive thinker or a negative thinker. Be a smart, rational thinker. If you like this video, subscribe, check out my other videos, and if you want to talk to me personally, you can add me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Logical Morality. I do every video request. This was a video request and I did it. However, I'm probably going to be slowing down my video requests in the future because I've been working on a very big research project on the crimes of Western governments, which I will share eventually.